Good evening and welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Rafael P. Roman. The vote is in and voters across the tri-state area have spoken. Here in the city, public advocate Jumaane Williams cruised to re-election by defeating Republican Council member Joe Borelli in the only citywide race on the ballot. New Yorkers also threw their support behind 5 ballot measures, including one that will change how we vote in future elections. And in New Jersey, Jersey City residents backed stricter regulations on short-term rentals, a big defeat for Airbnb. And joining us now with more on all this is Jeff Mays, the New York Times Metro Politics reporter, and Ben Max, executive editor of the digital watchdog publication, Gotham Gazette. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks.
Nice to have you guys here. So, Jeff, let me start with you. Anything happened in yesterday's elections that surprised you or that you found particularly interesting?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting that all the ballot measures passed yesterday that were up. And, one of the most significant is ranked choice voting, which would give New Yorkers the opportunity to rank, who they want in large elections. There's a sense that it will save a lot of money, and save a lot of time in terms of, who voters choose in special elections. And so that was definitely a big victory.
So, Ben, on that one, on ranked choice voting, the coverage was all positive. It seemed like everybody supported it. But just a couple of days before the vote, the minority caucuses in the city council publicly came out against it. Why?
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, they made an argument, the Black, Latino, and Asian caucus of the city council, even though some of the members were supporting a yes vote on that ballot measure for ranked choice voting, as a caucus, they came out against it. And their argument was that it had the potential to see fewer of their members elected to the city council and to citywide seats. Now, I don't know if that claim really holds up to scrutiny that well, but that was their position.
In other cities where they have adopted this, that doesn't seem to be the case.
We haven't seen the evidence of that. I think, though, that the caucus is worried that at this point, because there is such good representation in the city council, at least racially and ethnically, not gender, but that they don't want to see losses in that, and that it's a little bit worrisome that the system that, they basically said the system that's been in place has been working for representation on this front, so let's not mess with it. But there are arguments and evidence that it actually could go the other way.
Yeah, and I think there's a 2018 study of California, 3 or 4 cities there that use ranked choice voting, and you did see the number of minority candidates who won increase. The number of black candidates kind of dipped slightly, but overall you saw more Asian and Latino candidates being elected as well.
So, the only citywide race was for public advocate. Jumaane Williams, as predicted, won, and he won big. He has been saying he's not going to run for mayor in 2021. Was his impressive victory, could that change his mind?
Anything could change any politician's mind at any point. I believe Jumaane Williams when he repeatedly says, I'm not running in 2021. I think he sees the field. I don't think, from what he said, he feels like that's the right next step for him so soon. I think he's very happy to be public advocate. So I don't think so, but politicians can change their mind at any point. I think what'll be interesting is how he sort of cements himself in that citywide role. He's had to keep running for election here, so now he really gets to sort of establish himself and his voice.
So, Jeff, Joe Borelli, he's a respected Republican politician and a serious guy. Everyone predicted that the outcome of this election way ahead of time, that he was going to lose and lose big. Right. Why did he take it on when a lot of people thought that maybe he would take on Max Rose, Congressman Max Rose, the freshman Democrat, who may be in a little bit of trouble, especially after supporting the impeachment inquiry?
Right. Well, Mr. Borelli was actually calling for this position to be abolished. That was that was kind of what he was running on, that he would examine whether this position should even exist. It's surprising. He didn't really mount much of a campaign during this election, and not really sure why. You would think he would use this race as sort of a platform to get his ideas out there for whatever future races he wanted to do, but that really was not the case. It was really a low-key, very quiet race. Jumaane still didn't take any chances. He had an email from Bernie Sanders the other night, asking for people's support. So yeah, it's a little confusing as to why Mr. Borelli did not put on more of a campaign.
I think it speaks a little bit, too, to what the New York Republican Party is doing.
Talk about that.
Well, The enrollment disadvantage in voter registration is really stark. So
It's
of
like
course,
almost 7-1 now, right?
It's
Here in the
a highly,
city.
highly Democratic city, of course. And so for anyone other than a Mike Bloomberg type to try to come in and win as a Republican citywide is very, very challenging. But you'd think in this sort of off year election with not that many people paying attention that Republicans might try to sneak through and promote a candidate for citywide office to steal one. On the flip side of that, I will say one thing that surprised me about this election was actually how high the turnout was. I mean, to get to about 17% of registered voters when there wasn't that much going on, I thought was kind of indicative of the overall atmosphere where people are more engaged.
Did early voting, which is the first time that happened here in the city and the state, did that have anything to do with that, you think?
No. I think only about 60,000 people did early voting in the city.
Yeah.
So 700,000+ voted overall. So the bulk was still on election day. Yeah. But it was good to have the initial rollout of early voting in this quieter year to get the kinks out and for the poll workers to get used to it and so.
And just to close in the Republican situation, the 7-1, are the days when, first of all, why is that happening? Is it just demographic change?
I think so, but I also think that the New York Republicans have struggled a bit to sort of craft what is an urban agenda, what is a city agenda where people want services, they want government to work well, and this conservative argument is very often less government, and they need to make the pitch that they know the path to more effective government.
And Queens, the district attorney's race, Katz soundly defeated her Republican opponent. Anything significant of that race?
Well, I think her real challenge was in the primary against Tiffany Caban, who almost pulled out an election against the, Queens Democratic machine. I think what this says is this kind of gives the Queens Democratic machine a little breathing room. They have this big election under their belt. Now Melinda Katz is going to have to go out. She was pulled to the left in the primary, made a lot of promises in terms of how she would handle that office. And so now the question is, how is she going to do that and still satisfy those voters in Queens who tend to be, slightly more conservative in certain parts of Queens that helped elect her. So it's going to be interesting to see how she balances these concerns from advocates who have no indication that they're going to go away and pushing for these criminal justice reforms, and how she handles the concerns of her base.
Well, that's the key thing, is seeing if she turns her back on some of the promises she made in the primary, where she gets a primary challenge in a few years, even maybe from Caban herself. That could be very interesting to watch.
Whom she only beat by 55
in a
votes.
recount, and Katz has this very interesting challenge of following through on those promises, as Jeff said, making sure she's doing her job as a prosecutor and protecting crime victims, which she made sure to also put out there.
Any races outside New York City that got your attention?
I was keeping an eye on this Dutchess County executive race with Mark Molinaro, because he was the gubernatorial candidate last year for the Republicans. So he won again in a county in Dutchess that is not a big Republican stronghold by any means, but he won again. And this keeps him in the sort of discussion around maybe he runs for Congress in the seat up there, or maybe he runs for governor again.
This defeat for Airbnb in Jersey City, big defeat for them in the region. What does that bode?
It's a big defeat as they prepare to go public. They spent about $4 million to try to defeat these restrictions. It's part of a trend. You saw New York really cracking down, passing regulations on how Airbnb can operate. And they are going to have to look outside of the major cities. They are starting to look in other places around the world to try to grow their business. But there's no question, coming in the metro region, that this was a major defeat for them.
Anything that happened yesterday give us a hint of what's going to happen in the 2020 elections?
I think the turnout trend again shows that people are really engaged. There wasn't even that much going on in New York City.
Or 2021, by the way.
Yeah, well, the ranked choice voting is going to be the big
that
thing.
starts in 2021.
And only in party primaries and special elections, folks should know, not for general elections. But we know in New York City, the party, the Democratic primaries are really where most of the action is.
I think it's interesting you didn't hear about any major hiccups with the early voting. So this is giving the Board of Elections, which has a history of complaints, concerns about their operations, a chance to kind of get this right before the big presidential election and also into the big mayoral election. It could increase people's, access to democracy. So it's an important measure.
Okay, well, gentlemen, I think we'll close with that. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.